everyone. This will be Chapter 7 of A Second Life, written by Dyer O'Connigan 6083 and read by Insect Overlord. Danny woke up slowly. He turned over slightly to look at the window, groaning when he saw that it was still rather dark out. He didn't want to be awake this early. Danny rolled back over, grabbing his stuffed animal. He stared into the embroidered eyes. "Jazz, do you think it's okay if I have two dads?" he asked the stuffy. He knew that Jazz couldn't answer him. "I know people can have two dads, it's just Dick is my bio dad, kinda. I'm half made of him, but I'm made of Nightwing too, aren't I?" He paused, frowning. "Even if it's not as much as Dick, I can still think of Nightwing as my dad too, right? He was the first person who took care of me, and he visits me." "Yeah, I can have two dads," Danny told the elephant, feeling more confident. Nerves hit him again. Do you think I should try calling Dick Dad today? I kinda want to. He loves me so much, and I can't help but love him back, even though it's only been like 2 days. "I want a dad, Jazz," Danny whispered. "I want a family." Danny lay there for a few minutes longer, before sighing and getting up. He was pretty sure he knew where Dick's room was. Getting out of bed, he peeked his head outside his room. The hallway was empty. Stepping out, he crossed it and made his way to the door that was across from his, and a little to the right. He knocked gently and waited. When there was no answer, he slowly opened the door and looked inside. There were some clothes strewn about that had missed the hamper, but other than that, the room was fairly clean. Sitting up and blinking sleepily at him was his dad. "Danny, come here, little bird," Dick said with a yawn. Closing the door behind him, Danny made his way towards the bed. His dad patted the bed next to him, settling back down. Danny hopped onto the bed, squeaking when his dad pulled him close and into his arms. "Did you have another nightmare, Danny? It's okay, I'm right here. I'll protect you," his dad crooned, pressing Danny's face into his chest, fingers carding through his hair. Danny blushed a little, but snuggled into his dad's hold. Dick chuckled. "There you go, sweetheart. You're my little cuddle bug, aren't you?" It was just him and his dad. He could admit that. Danny nodded, sighing when he felt his bond with his dad flare in contentment and happiness. Dick placed a few kisses on his head and then relaxed, falling back asleep. Danny drifted for a while, enjoying the closeness. Eventually, though, light started to peek through the curtains. Not only that, but Danny was getting restless. Danny struggled, attempting to get out of his dad's hold, but Dick only held him even closer. Giving up, Danny turned intangible, freeing himself from his father's hold. Making his way back into the hall, he grabbed Jazz from his room before attempting to make his way down to the kitchen. He hadn't really had a chance to look around a lot when walking through the halls. Danny had always been escorted by someone. There were all sorts of fancy-looking paintings and stuff on the walls, and the wallpaper was subtly decorated with swirling patterns. Danny cheered softly when he made it to the kitchen. He hadn't gotten lost. He looked around, hoping to find something to snack on while he waited for everyone else to wake up. "What are you doing?" came a sharp voice behind him. Yelping, Danny spun around, clutching his elephant tightly. He relaxed upon seeing that it was just Damian. "You scared me," Danny accused. Do you know of something small I could eat? I don't want to be too full for breakfast, but I'm hungry." Damian stared at him, evaluating him, before turning away and entering the pantry. He came back out with a banana and handed it to Danny. "Here." "Thanks," Danny said gratefully, taking the banana. He hopped onto one of the chairs, putting his elephant on the table and attempting to peel the banana. This one was a little stubborn, but he eventually got it open. He watched Damian make himself some tea, sitting across from Danny as the water boiled. After finishing his banana, Danny looked around for a trash can, spotting one in the corner. That taken care of, he sat back down. The tea kettle whistled, Damian stood up, then hesitated. "Would you like some?" Danny wrinkled his nose. "I don't know. I've never had tea before." "I will make you a cup. You might enjoy it." Damian poured the boiling water into a teapot, then placed in a metal infuser he'd filled earlier with tea leaves. Bringing over a coaster, he set it down on the wooden table, then placed the teapot on top of it. Damian then brought over 2 teacups, setting one down in front of Danny and one in front of his spot before sitting back down. "You're up early," Damian commented. "Am I? I just know the sun was starting to rise." Danny kicked his legs under the table. "Why are you up early, and does everyone sleep in late here?" "It is a little after 5:30 a.m. I'm getting up this early so I can take Titus for his morning walk. As you are awake, would you like to join me?" Excited, Danny floated up, standing on his chair. "Yes! Titus is your dog, right? The one you were telling me about yesterday?" "Indeed. Now sit down. It is dangerous. You will also need to get dressed before you can come with me. Go now. The tea will be finished when you come back." "Okay," Danny exclaimed, jumping down from his chair and running out of the room. He knew exactly what he was going to wear. The Nightwing shirt he got yesterday, along with the last pair of sweatpants in the drawer. Just to be safe, Danny brushed his teeth and combed his hair. When Danny slid into the kitchen once more, Damian was exactly where he'd left him, although now both teacups were steaming, filled with a clear, greenish-yellow tinted liquid. "The tea is ready. Ironically, it is jasmine." Danny picked up the teacup, trying to match how Damian was holding it. "Is that not what you named your companion after?" Damian asked, raising an eyebrow. No. Dad, Dick, he said I should name my elephant after something that reminds me of home, that made me feel safe. Jasmine, Jazz, just popped into my head. I think it might have been from before, but I don't really remember anything from then. Not really." Danny eyed the cup in front of him. Hesitantly, he sipped it. It didn't burn, like the hot chocolate on the first day. It tasted okay. It wasn't sweet and had a slight aftertaste. It was strong? What flavor was this? Danny took another sip, still not really sure of what to think of it. "It's not bad, but it's not really good either. Why do you like it?" he asked curiously. "Tea is something I drink often with my mother and maternal grandfather. Now, I drink it often with Pennyworth. What else do you remember from before you woke up?" Damian asked intently, leaning forward slightly. "No, I don't want to remember stuff from before. Some of it was okay. I remember eating cereal, but other stuff was really bad. Really, really bad. Stuff that hurt a lot. I don't want to remember any more of that," Danny told Damian firmly, frowning and shaking his head slightly. The two sat in silence, both drinking tea every once in a while. Danny drank mostly because it was there and he wasn't really sure what to do, although he did grab Jazz off the table, putting her in his lap. Danny wiggled in his seat, sighing. He wanted to walk the dog, to go outside. Damian should hurry up. He began tapping his leg. Damian closed his eyes and sighed softly before draining his tea and getting up. "Let's go. Are you taking your elephant?" "Yeah, why not?" "It will more likely get dirty, and if you want to hold the lead, you will need your hands free." Danny looked down, worried. He wanted to take his stuffed animal, but he also didn't want to get Jazz dirty. He wasn't really sure if he could wash stuffies. "She'll be safe in my room, right?" he asked Damian worriedly. "Of course." One quick detour later, and Danny was running back, only to see Damian headed towards him. He skidded to a halt, letting Damian reach him, then followed him back towards the room 2 doors down from his dad's. Damian opened the door, entering the room. It appeared to be Damian's room, and there was a large green dog bed with a massive black dog, sprawled out, watching the two of them with his dark brown eyes. Damian made a single, quick signal with his hand, and the dog stood up, approaching them, sitting down just in front of Damian. "This is Titus. Let him sniff your hand," Damian instructed, pulling out his phone and holding it up once he'd stepped to the side. Hesitantly, Danny stretched out his hand. He hadn't thought Titus would be this big. He was almost as big as Danny. A wide grin stretched across Danny's face, and he giggled as Titus's wet nose touched his hand. "He's so big! How did he know to come and sit?" "I have trained him to follow both verbal commands and hand signals," Damian responded, continuing to hold his phone. Was Damian recording his first meeting with Titus? "Wow, you're such a smart doggy." Danny turned to look at Damian, hope shining in his eyes. "Can I pet him now?" "You may. Do so gently and slowly at first." Danny began to stroke the top of Titus's head, between the ears, jumping up and down excitedly, giggling as Titus let him, and at the fact that Titus was wagging his tail. That meant that Titus liked him. He liked Danny petting him. Damian tapped on his phone, then put it away, turning to grab a few toys and a leash. Danny watched him, finally taking stock of the room. The walls were really bare. He would see hooks and nails where items had been displayed recently, but had been moved. Weird. Why had Damian taken everything down? Or was this from before this was Damian's room? It immediately slipped from his mind when Damian clicked the leash onto Titus's collar and held it out to Danny, asking if he wanted to be the one to hold it. Boy, did he ever! Danny and Uncle Damian had finished walking Titus, throwing a ball for him on the manor grounds midway through their trek. His uncle had also shown Danny a few of Titus's commands, letting him try them out. Danny had been practically vibrating with excitement when the dog had obeyed, letting Danny shake his paw, barking on command, sitting, rolling over, and laying down. By the time the two made it back to the manor, the sun was much higher in the sky. Not that you could really see it very well, due to the cloud coverage. When Uncle Damian had told him that since his meeting with Titus had gone so well, the dog would be free to roam the manor once more, Danny had shrieked with glee. The dog was going to be around all the time now. After that, Uncle Damian sent him back to his room, suggesting he get Jazz, and breakfast would be soon. Skipping down the hall, Danny made his way to his room, grabbing a stuffy before heading to the dining room. Walking Titus had made him really hungry. He'd even had a banana this morning, but running around outside had been really tiring. In the dining room, his dad was already there, standing and talking to Damian while his aunts were already sitting and chatting. Grandpa Bruce once again sitting at the head of the table. Danny ran forward, giving his dad a hug around the waist, interrupting the conversation. Dad, I met Damian's dog. We went on a walk. Titus is so cute," Danny excitedly told him. Dick's expression morphed into shock and surprise, then utter joy. Danny laughed happily as he was picked up and swung around, his dad having to move to the left to avoid hitting Uncle Damian. "Good morning, Danny." His dad swung him around for a moment, before placing Danny on his hip. "Did you have a good time with your Uncle Damie?" Danny nodded, leaning his head on his dad's shoulder. "Are you looking forward to going shopping today?" Danny scrunched his nose. "Kinda. I want more clothes, and shoes. Especially shoes. But I don't know. Going outside should be cool, though. I haven't really seen a lot of normal people. Just you guys." His dad laughed weakly. "I wouldn't really call this family the definition of normal." Danny tilted his head, confused. "Why not? Everyone seems normal to me." Well, for one, your Grandpa Bruce is very rich. So are Uncle Tim and Uncle Damie, Uncle Jason as well. That makes it so there is a lot of attention on us. There's going to be a lot of people staring at us today. Just stick close to us and everything will be okay. Danny just looked at his dad. It was going to be fine. Everything was going to be fine. It was not fine. Danny had probably underestimated how rich his family was, and how many people would pay attention to them. There hadn't been anyone following them with cameras when they'd gone and gotten shoes. Danny had gotten some super cool sneakers that lit up, and a pair that had these secret wheels in the heels. The rest of the shoes ended up being really plain compared to those. The paparazzi started showing up when they were looking at clothes. At first, it was just one, hovering on the edge of their peripheral vision. When he'd pointed it out to his dad, Dick told him to ignore it for now. That was a lot easier said than done. The flashing lights from their cameras were very distracting, as was their whispering and calls for him to look over at them. Although they tried to hide it, Aunt Steph and his dad weren't enjoying the attention either. The two adults blocked the camera's view of him as much as possible, and Danny doubted that any of them had good photos of him. Danny loved his family. Thankfully, they lost a majority of the stalker paparazzi people after leaving the clothes store, but they'd shown up again at the toy store. Honestly, Danny was just trying to pick out some glow-in-the-dark stars for his ceiling, and some action figures. Aunt Steph was helping him find action figures of the heroes he'd met at the watchtower, along with a few more. She'd handed him a purple-clad masked vigilante named Spoiler, one that was completely covered in black called Orphan, and a red-haired bat-themed vigilante called Batgirl. She'd also put 3 or 4 different Nightwing ones in the cart, which was really nice of her. Someone must have told her that Nightwing was his favorite hero, since he couldn't remember telling her that. Ignoring their followers was going well, till they said something weird. "Dick, how do you feel having a new baby brother? How do you feel about Bruce being a dad again at his age?" another called. Danny stopped, tilting his head in confusion. He turned to his dad. "Grandpa Bruce has a new son? I have a new uncle?" At his words, the furious clicking of the cameras got even worse, and the paparazzi got even closer, scaring Danny. He hurried to his dad's side, worried. He was immediately scooped up, his dad encouraging Danny to hide his face against his father's chest. "All right, time to go. Steph, you got everything?" his dad asked with a surprising amount of authority. "Yep, you got it. Get the baby out of here," Aunt Steph confirmed. "Baby? Baby? He wasn't a baby. Not a baby," he protested, as his dad rushed him out of the store, leaving his aunt behind. Minutes later, they were sliding into the back of Great-Grandpa Alfred's car, having escaped the people and their cameras. The car eased into traffic and began to drive them back to the manor. "Dad, did Grandpa Bruce adopt another kid? Am I going to have another uncle?" he asked curiously. He was a bit nervous. He already had so many aunts and uncles. "No, Danny, they were talking about you." Danny blinked, confused. "But you're my dad, not Grandpa Bruce." "I know, sweetheart, but they don't know that. They just assumed that your grandpa was adopting you, so they got excited when they heard you call Bruce Grandpa. You're Bruce's first grandkid, his first grandson, so they got really excited." "Oh," he said, relaxing a little. "That made more sense. But why do they care so much?" "That's a great question. I'm honestly not really sure. Probably because Bruce has a lot of money, and people like to gossip and judge people who are wealthy like your grandpa is," his dad explained. "People are weird." Danny was playing with his tablet on the couch, his dad doing something on a laptop at a desk further in the library. Dick had shown him a timer, telling Danny he got 2 hours to play on the tablet. Then he'd have to play something else. That was totally fine with Danny. He just wanted to look up stuff about Nightwing and the other heroes. Nightwing was apparently the hero/vigilante of Bloodhaven, a city about an hour away from Gotham, but Nightwing was known to assist Batman and Gotham's other vigilantes to take down Gotham's variety of rogues. Danny wasn't sure how often Nightwing came by to assist. Maybe, though, if he was lucky, Nightwing would visit him each time. He was kind of starting to miss the kind hero who gave him the best hugs and cuddles, his only competition being from Danny's other dad, Dick. Feeling a bit glum, he watched shaky, grainy videos of Nightwing running and flipping across Bloodhaven's rooftops. If he asked nicely, would Nightwing teach him how to flip like that? How to be that graceful and smooth? How to twirl and be so acrobatic? Danny was pulled out of his thoughts by Uncle Damian entering, asking if Danny wanted to come with him on Titus's afternoon walk, the large Great Dane already by his uncle's side. His dad ruffled his hair, telling him to have fun with his uncle when he handed over his tablet. The walk was really nice. Uncle Damian talked really formally and used fancy words, but he was actually pretty nice. Dinner was good too, and before Danny knew it, it was time for bed. Sitting in his brand new PJs with his stuffed elephant, Danny sat in bed waiting, hoping. But Nightwing didn't come, and Danny fell asleep, waiting. There were 3 small miniatures made out of ice. One was of a young man in a t-shirt and cargo pants, holding a PDA and wearing a hat that looked like a cross between a beanie and a beret. The second was a young woman in thick combat boots, a skirt, crop top, and a short bob with a small ponytail. The third was another young woman in long pants and a long-sleeve shirt. There was a headband in her hair. Lifting up the figurine with the headband, Danny spoke. "Great job, Danny! You did all those king duties you hate. I'm so proud of you," came his voice, higher than usual, attempting to mimic his sister's voice. Grabbing the figure of the young man, he spoke once more. "Yeah, Danny, you're doing an awesome job being the king of the infinite realms, dude." Danny was speaking deeper this time. Setting down Jazz, Danny grabbed the final figure. "Yeah, Ghost Boy, that was real clever of you, how you brokered peace between the Phantom Zone and the Ghost Zone. I'm impressed." "Thanks, guys." This time it was Danny's regular voice, and a fake happy voice. "That's so nice of you. I'm really proud of myself, too." Danny slumped, setting the ice figures down. His right hand, now free, was placed over his eyes. "I'm so pathetic. You guys have been gone for years, hundreds of years. I miss you all so much. I'm so alone," Danny whispered, his voice breaking. This concludes Chapter 7 of A Second Life. I hope you liked it. I really liked Damian and Danny's relationship and how nice and uncle-y Damian was. The next chapter will hopefully be up soon, and thank you so much for listening.